The world is not a perfect place, and we all know it. In fact, there's one global issue killing more people than AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis combined, and that is world hunger. Around the world, there are over 800 million people suffering because of chronic food deprivation. One child is dying every 10 seconds. And the worst part is, over one third of all food for human consumption is being either lost or wasted. Many people still think that world hunger is getting better over the years. This is in fact both right and wrong. Since 1990, the numbers have decreased significantly. However, in recent years, they are increasing again and increasing fast. This is an issue that must be solved. However, before looking at solutions, we must look at the causes. I've broken down the many causes of world hunger into three main points. The first one is poverty. Around 44% of people are making less than $5.50 per day. Why? Why is this happening? Well, is it because they don't have the right jobs? Do the jobs they have not make enough money for them? Well, in fact, in the second quarter of 2020 in South Africa, the second most affected country by world hunger, the employment rate was 36%. 36. Well, why is this? This is mainly due to the lack of access to education. Around 59 million children in third world countries do not have access to basic education. And children that have had access to education after 4 years of schooling, there are still 250 million children who cannot read, write, or count. Now, let's look at this from another perspective. Let's say they do have the education, however, they have to stay home and care for their families. And when doing this, they cannot work and make money. Now, people are sick a lot in these countries. Let's look at this global disease adjusted life years chart. This represents the amount of years taken away because of illness, disease, and premature death per 100,000 people. As you can see, it is so much worse in these third world countries than in a place like Canada. Well, why is this? Well, in Canada, government supports us with free healthcare, and other countries would love to have this. And this leads me to my second point. Government and conflict. Out of the 800 million people affected by world hunger that I mentioned before, 60% of them are living in conflict. When countries are in conflict, they're constantly bombing and raiding others' farmland and supplies. Conflict causes food shortages. However, food shortages also causes conflict. When countries are weak and they don't have enough food, they will attack. And this has started a vicious, never-ending cycle. We have seen examples of this in countries like Yemen, Syria, and South Sudan. Now, to my final point, the climate. Climate studies have shown that climate and climate change has left over 200 million people in dire need of food. Let me show some examples. The dry corridor in El Salvador, Guatemala, from 2014 to 2016 has left millions of people in need of food. The Cyclone Idai on March 4th, 2019 hit in Mozambique and made it so there had to be 3,000 square miles of farmlands being rebuilt. In Somalia 2019, they had the worst harvest ever because of drought since 2011, and it left 2 million people in need of food. This is awful, and it's only going to get worse. But before I go, I want to leave you with one of the solutions that I think will have the biggest impact, and that is education. Now, I'm not talking about teaching these kids how to do complex math equations or frankly learn any of the other useless stuff I learned in school. However, I want to teach them to learn how to learn, how to problem solve, how to seek understanding, understand why things work and how the world is working. We have to teach these kids the basics and fundamentals from the ground up. We cannot just throw food at these countries and expect things to change. We have to make it so that these countries can fend for themselves and eventually develop into countries like ours. The world is in all of our hands. We have the ability to change it.